At 15, I finally gave up any hopes of my father ever stepping up and being a good dad to me. Until then I'd still hoped and prayed that someday we might have a good relationship, but after he moved in with his girlfriend I gave up because that was never going to happen. Then a couple of weeks before my 18th birthday, he proved me right by cutting ties with us entirely. He eloped with his second wife and didn't even bother to tell us in person. He sent us an email to inform us that he was moving to NYC with his wife and said that he didn't want us contacting him anymore. I was not going to be a minor anymore in just a few weeks, so he had no legal obligations tying him down anymore. I wasn't surprised in the slightest, but my grandma was disappointed, so I had to be strong through it all for the both of us. He'd blocked me and my grandma so we couldn't contact him, and I think he'd even changed his number. I was mostly worried about how I was going to pay for college because I really couldn't afford a student loan given how ridiculously difficult they are to pay off in the future. I already knew I wanted a business degree and my grades were decent too, so I was desperate to go to college and learn things that would help me and my grandma in the real world. I'd already been doing a lot of research and homework on how to restart the business, which had been nothing but a huge liability so far, and we'd made it even worse somehow. Financially we were doing pretty badly, and now it was about to get worse because my dad had left. We could have asked for help from my maternal grandparents, but they'd already helped us out with the business and we couldn't just keep on asking them for more. Both of them were retired teachers and it wasn't like they had a fortune to spend either. I just couldn't sit by and let that happen, so as a last resort, I decided to take matters into my own hands instead of waiting for someone to come along and fix things for me. I was supposed to start college in the fall, but a couple of months before that, around the same time as my birthday, I decided that I was going to go online and try to promote our family business. I can't say exactly what we deal in because that might make us easier to track, but it's something that appeals to women mostly. We did have a business page, but it was useless and mostly inactive because with school and household chores that my grandma couldn't do due to her age, I didn't have the time to look after that as well, and my grandma wasn't very good with social media. So it was just there. It existed, but it was of no use to us. Around 2017-18 the whole promotion of small, local businesses on social media was sort of working, and once I graduated from high school, I decided to put all my time and energy into that before college. So while my friends were out celebrating this new chapter of our lives, I was back home applying to colleges that I could afford to attend even by a long shot, and working on rebooting the page. Luckily, around a few weeks in, one of our posts about a certain product went viral, and soon enough our inbox was flooded with people from all over the state wanting to buy from us. Not just that one product, but also others that we sold, and we grew exponentially in the coming few months. We were able to pay off all our debts over time and even started saving, thanks to the sheer power of social media. It's been 6 years and we're still going pretty strong. I wouldn't say that we're millionaires, but our business was doing well enough for me to be able to attend college without loans or anything. After I graduated, I came back and took over running it all so that my grandma could retire, and that's how it's been for the last couple of years. Now earlier this year, my grandma passed away and I was shattered over it because she was my whole world, but I was happy that she'd passed in her sleep. She was in her late 70s and had lived a long and eventful life. She died of natural causes and passed away peacefully and painlessly. That's more than enough for me. I didn't tell my dad or call him to the funeral because I didn't know how to reach him. I could have of course done some digging to find out, but I didn't want to do that because it didn't seem worth it. Also, if I hadn't done that when he'd abandoned us, then I didn't see any reason for me to do it now. It's been several months since my grandma passed, and recently, I was informed of her will. She left her shares of the business to me while the remaining 50% was still owned by my maternal grandparents, but I know that they're going to leave their shares to me as well, so I really own this business now. What came as a surprise to me was that she'd also left the house and all her savings to me as well. And she'd managed to save a lot over the past 6 years because she'd lived the same frugal and modest lifestyle that she'd always been used to. So I basically inherited everything, but my father also inherited something that I found out about only recently. He'd inherited this really old and weird abstract painting that my grandma kept in the living room, even though it was very ugly and didn't go with the room's aesthetic at all. Apparently, that was something that my dad had insisted that she buy at an art exhibit when he was 10 years old, and she'd kept it all these years as a memory. All of this happened a couple of weeks ago because my grandmother had left strict instructions that the contents of the will were not to be disclosed until the probate process was done.